So far we've talked about 4 different ways of solving by factoring, square root method, completing the square, and the quadratic formula. So the first method we're going to talk about is factoring. There are a few different types of factoring we've done. We've talked about GCF, we've talked about Xbox, and we also did difference of squares. So you want to use when, obviously, if you have a GCF or if you have a difference of 2 perfect squares. But you know that x is going to work if when you multiply, if I have ax squared plus b plus c, if you multiply a times c and then b goes at the bottom, if there is something that will work with x, so if I can fill that in, that means that you can factor. So my first step would be get it equal to 0. And then you would just do whatever factoring method is going to work. The con is it has to factor. Seems obvious. But to solve by factoring, it has to factor. And most things that factor is actually. But it is especially if it's GCF or a difference of squares, that's a really quick method. The next quick method is to do square root. It's happy, it's short. So square root method is where we're going to do plus or minus the square root of both sides. We're going to use it when we have no b term, which is the x term. The first step is to get x squared alone. The cons is that it doesn't work with a b term. But if I do have a b term, I can force it to be completing square. So completing the square is when we're going to have a actual box, and we're going to be filling in that square and adding it to the other side. The nice time to use completing the square is when a is 1 and b is even. The first step for completing a square is to move your constant. So it should be equals c, your constant. And the cons, so technically I can complete the square on anything I want, but the con is annoying. If a is not 1 or b is odd. And the last one that always works is the quadratic formula. X equals b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you can use quadratic formula whenever. First is equals 0. Cons is it's long and annoying. But really, that one works every time. So those are the 4 ways that we have looked at solving and the pros and cons of them.